Resentment is not a reflection of what the world owes you. Let me repeat that. Resentment is not a reflection of what the world owes you. You read and you say, wow, that was a great book. And there are books you read and you say, oh my God, I want to cry. It feels like an absolute warm hug. Finally, something I can relate to. This fitting in is not the same as belonging. When you belong, it's because you are accepted exactly as you are. Be fooled by the few statements I just made, because today I am going to be reviewing this book, Open When by Julia Smith. Now, I know I'm a little bit late to the party. This book has been out for about 10 to 11 days and I'm quite late to review it. Normally I'm quite fast to review the books, so you can make a good decision when you decide to pick up a book in the bookstore, because I want you, when you're spending your money to buy this book, you're going to get the value that you need, or it's going to be a book that you feel like maybe I'll pass on this time and maybe watch Lucy's YouTube video instead. But anyways, with no further ado, we're going to be reviewing this book. This very particular book is by Julia Smith. If you do not know, Julia Smith is this therapist that I started watching her videos on Instagram and for some reason on TikTok, and her videos were so they are very therapeutic. They're very relatable, and she's a therapist, I think, and all her videos are so relatable. Let me just play a clip of some of her videos here.
Hidden signs that your friendship has become toxic. Number one, your friendship is conditional on you being no threat to them. So you have to stay small enough so that they can tolerate you. Number two, they don't respect the word no. So instead, they manipulate you into doing what they want. And number three, what sounds like praise feels like poison. So even comments that appear friendly on the surface seem to come laced with contempt.
Emotions with things like food, alcohol, drugs, or even social media. It's a bit like trying to hold air underwater. Sooner or later, it's going to find its way to the surface.
That is exactly what I mean. Her videos are so sweet, so nice, so warm, and she uses these practical examples that make you kind of like go along as she's explaining to you why you might feel the same way that you feel, or why you're feeling that kind of emotion. Anyways, this is not her first book that she has released. She released one of the books that are my top 5. If there was a 10-star, I would give this book a 10-star, which is called Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before. Now, this very book, when I read it, I said this book feels like therapy, and honestly speaking, I made that statement. I uploaded a pin on Pinterest, and that pin has been going viral, and everybody's talking about how this book feels like actual therapy. And yeah, it's quite nice to have something that really is going around, and yeah, people are enjoying. Anyways, I am not going to be reviewing this book based on this book. We are going to be reviewing this book as an independent written book, away from Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before, though they are the same authors, and this book is a very good book. If you haven't picked up this book before and you haven't read this book before, read this book. It's honestly like therapy in a book without actually speaking to someone. Anyways, let us get into this book, which is called Open Why. So Open When by Dr. Julia Smith is literally a book that says open when you're dealing with difficult people, open when your friends are not your friends, open when you're under pressure, open when fear shows up, and open when you struggle to say no. Now, the whole idea and the concept of the book is for you to pick up this book and open when you're feeling that kind of emotion or that kind of feeling, or you need a bit of encouragement. Just open when you're feeling that sort of way. The book itself is written into 3 sections, and each section has subsections that you can read and you can sort of understand. In every section you have practical examples. Now, this is what is setting this book apart from Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before. But I'm just going to be telling you some of the chapters that I really enjoyed, some of the things that I loved, that I read, that I feel very encouraging, and you can go ahead and pick up the book and read the whole entire book itself. But I'm just going to pick up the chapters that were my favorite chapters in the book. Okay, so let us start off from chapter 1. So chapter 1 is when you compare yourself and come up short. Now, she says, there is nothing noble in being superior to your fellow man. True nobility is being superior to your former self. So the concept of that book is sort of saying that the true power within yourself is comparing the person that you were before and the person that you are now. And that is where you get power. Comparing yourself to another person, to another human being, takes away the power that you could be putting onto yourself. It says, but while it helps to consider your own surroundings as part of self-evaluation, when you consult social media, what you are looking at is not your real community. In fact, much of it is not real at all. It is a collection of carefully crafted, delicately altered images that a person or a company wants you to see. Now, a lot of the time we compare ourselves on social media. I have compared myself on social media so many times. I've seen people's lives and I want those lives to be my life. But then we forget that social media in itself is meant to keep you scrolling. There was a quote that I read somewhere that said that imagine if every single day they turned off the internet at 6 o'clock. You'll be forced to have those conversations with people. You'll be forced to have a community. You'll be forced to get out because you don't have something that you're endlessly scrolling at. You don't have something that you continuously compare yourself with. Compare yourself with. So the killer of your joy and the killer of your own happiness is when you start comparing yourself to the other person. Rather than comparing your journey and where you have been, you start comparing yourself to that. We forget that social media is a glimpse of every single thing. For example, I am in this room and I'm filming. You see the white walls, you see the background, you see me looking good, you see me, kind of looking like, wow, I would love that. But what you don't understand is that I have just done a 14-hour shift at work. I came back. I finished my shift at 7 in the morning and I finished at 9 o'clock. I came back home. I put this makeup on. I put this whole setting on. And now I'm filming and my room is like a single place that I live in. Not to go into sort of details in kind of the situation that I'm in at the moment. So this whole situation, everything that you see here is very admirable because it is deliberately made for your own eyes and for you to feel pleased. I don't know if I'm trying to make sense, if that makes sense. So if you watch me right now and you start comparing yourself to me and you start wanting the life that I have, you do not know what is behind the scenes, and that is what I'm trying to say to you. You do not understand what is going on or what is happening. You only see a clip of what I want you to see. So with that being said, that's the first chapter where she talks about the whole entire being of comparison. In there she talks about other aspects of how to make comparison constructive, and she said you can compare yourself to someone else if you can make it like a sort of a constructive way. In there's a subsection that says how to make comparison constructive is to turn envy into inspiration. So if you see someone that is better than you, rather than criticizing them, rather than being jealous of them, look at the skills, the way they do the things, the structure in which they are doing everything, and use that to learn. Use that as a learning curve. Use that as an inspiration for yourself. Do not compare yourself to criticize, because then it creates a negative energy around the whole situation, and then you start hating this person rather than learning from this person. Makes you not resent other people or resent yourself, because the more you criticize, the more you compare yourself, you create resentment, and you resent and resent and resent. And this quote got me quite well. She said, resentment is not a reflection of what the world owes you. Let me repeat that. Resentment is not a reflection of what the world owes you. Let me tell you something. There is someone out there that is richer than you. There is someone out there that is more pretty than you. There is someone out there that has more money than you. There is someone out there that is living in a luxurious house that you want to live in. There's someone out there that is having better grades than you. There's someone out there who is having the boyfriend, the husband, the wife, the girlfriend that you want to have. Okay? There is always that person. But you can't keep saying, why did things happen to me the way they happened to me? Why does that person deserve to be living in the house that I want to live in? So you start having resentment towards yourself. You start thinking that I deserve this, I need this, it should be mine. Why is it not mine? So what she's saying is that resentment is not a reflection of what the world owes you. It is a sign of what you need to work on. You want to improve yourself and your body. Don't resent yourself and say the world has punished you, karma has fallen upon you. No, start doing something about it. In this book itself, there is somewhere that I read that said that when you say to yourself, it's going to be okay, it's not enough. Do something to be okay, if that makes sense. Saying that it's going to be okay is a very good statement, but what are you doing to be okay? So what she's saying in this chapter is that it is a sign of what you need to work on. If you find yourself hating and resenting that particular thing because you feel like you deserve to have it more, why not work towards it? Why not try to achieve it? Why not put into practice the things that you can learn from it? Okay. And I read that and I was just like, poof. The next part about that is chapter 2, which is when your friends are not your friends. Now, I talk so much about things to do with friendships because I feel like it's the second or the first kind of relationship that we have that really affects our environment and the decisions that we make. Okay, that is why I talk about that. Now, in Julia's book, this very particular book, Open When, she has a letter. And every chapter that you would find in the book, there is a letter that she has written from her to you. And then on the other part of it, there's these practical examples. So on this part of the letter, when it comes to friendship, she says, when a friendship is dependent on you bringing something other than yourself in order to be accepted, that is not friendship. Taking responsibility for someone else's ego in this way, okay? When a friend reveals themselves to you with anything along the lines of jealousy, contempt, or deceit, watch and learn. If the sharing of a personal victory is met with danger eyes or a dose of stonewalling, watch and learn. And if the sharing of bad news is quickly minimized or one-upped by something much worse that happened to them years ago, squashing your own bid, support as they fight for the spotlight, watch and learn. Learn to clock those signs that someone does not have your best interests at heart. Now, this is so important. She keeps saying, watch and learn, watch and learn. Does not say go ahead and hit back, revenge back, make them feel the way they feel. I'm reading another book that is called That's So Bold of You. And there is a statement that 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐀𝐌𝐈𝐄𝐑 said. He said that the best revenge you can ever have for someone who hates you, an enemy, is not becoming like them. I'll repeat that. The best revenge you can have for an enemy or someone that does not like you or really hates you is not becoming like them. So when she's talking about things to do with true friendship, is that you have to watch and learn, and then move on. Yet again, this is what is very good about the book. She says in this very book, she says that sometimes we have friendships whereby we think that when a person says something negative to me, or they say something that I don't like, or they criticize something, it means that they're not good friends. But then she says, no. Listen to this. Genuine friends can disagree and yet still maintain love, compassion for each other. There is a difference between having constructive criticism, disagreeing with someone. If a friend tells you that they don't like something or they feel like you should head into a different direction, it doesn't mean that they're not good friends or they hate you or they don't want to be around you. Honestly speaking, they could be giving you the best advice ever, and they could be great friends because they have your interest, at heart, not their interest, but your interest at heart. Okay. And at the end of that, there is a quote that she says, and literally, as you can see, I highlighted the quote so much. It says, fitting in is not the same as belonging. When you belong, it is because you are accepted exactly as you are. Now, this very chapter I was just like mind blown, because she explained properly and nicely the aspect of belonging and fitting. And she says, when you belong, it means you've been accepted as who you are, as your true self. Fitting is when you try to create a persona, you try to fake your being so you can belong, or you can try to belong in that group, but you don't, because they are going to love you for the fake persona that you have created, and your true self is hidden underneath yourself. She says that always ask yourself a question: do I belong? Do they accept me for who I am? Do they appreciate me for who I am? Or am I trying my best to please them? Am I saying yes to them every single time when I feel like saying no? Do I feel like every time my needs are not being met, my success is being put down? The things that I struggle with or I fear with are also being met by their own struggles and their own fears. So those things that you should actually be looking at. Then I'm talking about chapter 3, because in chapter 3 itself, it says that when you want to be less awkward around people. Now, this whole chapter, I want everybody to read that chapter, because it is this kind of, let me put the book down a bit and let us get deeply into this in a bit of a personal sort of way, based on what I got from what Julia says, because interpretation is very personal. In a way, the way we interpret information is different from the way you interpret it. But how I got it was like, we tend to blame the people around us, the environments around us, for how we're socially awkward. We walk into a room with a perspective of, maybe these people don't like me. You walk into a room whereby you feel like, oh, I feel so cringe. No one is talking to me. Everybody is laughing. Everybody is on their phone. So we create this idea of that they don't want me. I'm very awkward. I can make a joke. People can laugh, around me. But then she says, the problem could not be the people around you. Think about this. As you're worried that people are looking at you, people are judging, people are laughing at you, trust me, they have bigger problems they are worrying about. They have things they're also worried about. They're also going through their minds with all these thousands and million things. So you think that they have the time and the energy to think about you as you've walked through this room and start judging you and start thinking about you and start, pulling you apart in their minds and their heads. No, it doesn't happen like that. So in the whole chapter, she kind of says that instead of waiting for people to welcome you, be the welcomer. Waiting for people to say hello to you, be the one to say hello. Waiting for someone to make small talk with you, be the one that makes the small talk. Be the one that talks about the weather. Because for some reason, we all went through the rain, to get to the destination where we are, because we've experienced the same thing. So it's something easy that we can, talk about. Waiting around for other people to take away the awkwardness that you're feeling creates much more less confidence or unconfidence, or the way you want to put it. That is what I got from that chapter. But let us go ahead and then get some quotes that we got from there, okay? She says, telling yourself that you don't have the skills is not the end of the story. People spend a lifetime owning the craft of interacting with other human beings. There is always more to learn, and during that process, you will discover that you can tolerate the discomfort of awkward moments here and there. You learn that the possibility of awkward moments happening does not disappear. Every situation, every place, as long as you're a human being and you're living, you're always going to have awkward situations, awkward moments, weird situations. But as human beings, we are meant to adapt and learn, and that is something that you should be adapting. And this is also something else that she says in the book. She says, if you find yourself feeling unwelcome or questioning whether you belong, you might be tempted to adjust yourself to fit in. There is nothing wrong with that, and we all do it in small ways every day. But it carries with it an assumption you have made about the value of the group that you want to join. What happens when your acceptance is conditional on you lying about what you believe to be true? Or maybe being a part of a group demands that you do things you're uncomfortable with and pretend to be someone you're not. This type of situation starts to feel less like belonging and more like manipulation. Remember, you're trying to fit in because you don't belong, because you feel like you don't belong at all, which actually makes sense. And I'm reading so much from the book because I want you to have an understanding of everything that she wrote. I highlighted these parts. They are literally highlighted parts within the book. But there is a part that I highlighted here in green, and it says that she dares you to try to walk into a room with a mission to make others feel welcomed by you. Take a genuine interest in each individual without expectation of anything in return and see what happens. Someone invites you to a party, you go to a party and you walk in and you expect everyone to come and be like, you're welcome, you can have this food, the fridge is here, you can eat this. And no, walk into that room and be like, hey, hello, get interest, ask them about the pictures on the wall, ask them about, how long it took them to get here, how many people have been on the party. Be the welcomer rather than waiting to be welcomed. When you go on to chapter 8, whereby she talks about this aspect of when you are dealing with passive aggressive people. And in the whole chapter there's a letter that she wrote, but I wanted to read something that she put in there. She says, sometimes you don't notice how dark it is. She says, sometimes you don't notice how dark it's become until someone switches the light on. Similarly, when someone starts to behave in a passive-aggressive manner, it can be difficult to work out why you suddenly feel on edge and alone. And in passive aggression, she's talking about this discomfort that you feel when someone says things to you or talks to you. You feel uncomfortable, but you don't understand why you feel uncomfortable. You don't understand why you feel the way you feel, because you think maybe this, maybe that. But in actual sense, they are being passive-aggressive. In actual sense, they're actually bullying you. And she gives you practical examples of how you can, get out of the situation. I wrote down here my personal note that says, I do not strip down to the level with an intent, to hurt another person. Back off, and let them play the game. When someone is trying to hurt you and be passive aggressive and annoy you and try to get the reaction from yourself, says do not play into their game. Because remember, for a game to be played, it needs more than one player. If you take yourself out of the equation, then there is no any other player to play with. But if you put yourself in the pot that you want to play, then it's very different. For example, the whole thing about narcissistic people, and she talks about an aspect of narcissism in there as well, and she says that narcissistic people thrive on your anger, thrive on you feeling bad. When you blame a narcissistic person, tell them how they have treated you and how they have behaved, chances are they're going to flip it and wait for your reaction and use that reaction as a way to show people that you are the bad one, that you're the horrible one, that you're the one that reacted in such a manner, and that is the wrong thing. Okay. And the other chapter that is very good is the love chapter, and I call it the love chapter because it's all about relationship. It says, when they don't love you back. Now I highlighted here is that the part that I highlighted here, she says that you cannot sit in the darkness and convince yourself that all will be okay. You have to make it okay. Bit of the book that I liked was the part of the imposter syndrome, and imposter syndrome says that comparing your chapter 1 with somebody else's chapter 8, comparing someone who has done something and they have mastered it for a very long time, and you think that you should also be in that kind of bracket. And she says, no, you don't have to. You deserve everything, because being an imposter or having imposter syndrome is the aspect of thinking that you're fraud, thinking that you don't deserve it, thinking that other people deserve to have what they should have and you don't deserve to have it at all. But in actual sense, you do deserve to have it. So I love this whole section about imposter syndrome, and it's normal to have imposter syndrome. We all have imposter syndrome. It is common. And she says, when you feel like a fraud, the most important thing you can do is not to confirm that the fear with your behavior. The fear will tell you to cover up your imperfections and lie about your competencies, to focus on making it look like you can keep up. Don't be tempted to do this. Don't conform with that little voice in your head that is telling you that you don't belong, you don't need to be there. She says, if you judge everyone in the room to be smarter or more competent than you, that makes you the luckiest person in the room. That means you have the best chance to make the most progress. Don't enter the room just to compete. See the bigger picture of your life. Come into the room to absorb and take all the learning that you can, while contributing as much value as you can along the way. Okay, I hope that helps you. The last part of this that I want to share with you, and before I tell you the whole entire book, it came to parents, and this part that is a parent chapter. I'm trying to get where it is. Should have been very organized when I came to do the videos and stuff like that, but you know what, we're just gonna do it how we do it. Anyways, when your parents got it wrong but you want them in your life, it's a very touchy subject. It talks about a relationship you once had with your parent, which was a child-adult relationship. That was when you were a child. And now the relationship that you're having with your parents, that is adult relationship. Completely very different. Now, trying to forgive the things that they did, the mistakes that they did, is very different. And the aspects in here whereby she talks about that we assume different roles when it comes to parents and telling our parents about the things that they did to them. There is different forms in which you can create that. Let me just read for you. There is criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. And I don't know. This is the part of this book that really touched me, because obviously I don't have the best of the best, kind of family relationships and stuff like that. Just be out there, but that's just me. Yeah. Let me read this. It's going to be a mouthful, but let me just read it for you. Being an adult doesn't necessarily mean you can now have the relationship with your parents that you always wanted. The only thing you can truly control is what you bring to the relationship. With that comes huge responsibility, both to enforce your own boundaries to protect yourself, but also to acknowledge the role you now play in a relationship that may not be healthy. When we think about our relationship to our parents, the tendency is to slip back into our core template for that relationship. Me as a child focusing on what I need from my parents, grieving for what I needed but didn't get, and fantasizing about being able to change them. Or maybe dreaming of the day that they finally see the damage they have been doing all this time and come around to the idea of doing things differently. A heartbreaking but also liberating reality of this new adult to adult relationship is that we cannot force insight or change onto anyone but ourselves. The heartbreaking part is that we often have to accept that a parent is not capable of the kind of relationship we wished for. The liberating part is that we can manage the whole relationship around more realistic expectations of them. I read that. I closed the chapter. I came back and I read that. And I closed the chapter. And it made me understand something. I cannot resurrect what was already dead. That relationship is gone. I can only try to rebuild a relationship now. Reminiscing or remembering the things that I wish I could have had, the relationship I wish I could have, embraced, does no good. Understanding that they're never going to change. You just have to create room in which you're respected in the way you want to be respected and build onto that relationship. Being a victim and saying you never helped me, you were never there, you were never this and that, does not help rebuilding that relationship. And I want to take a moment to say, if you're having that kind of relationship in your life when it comes to your family and your parents, get this book, read that chapter, and please do message me and tell me what you think, because I feel like you'll be transformed and you'll have a different understanding. Sometimes we wait for them to come and say, I'm sorry. And in the book, she says as well that parents don't tend to say sorry to their children because it takes away the authority and the power that they have. They feel really down below because they have said sorry to their child. So if you're waiting around for sorry from your mom, from your dad, from your uncle, from whoever in your family, someone that was a parent or a very close caregiver, you may be waiting for a lifetime. Okay? So don't play that victim kind of situation. Yes, you are. But if you want to rebuild a relationship or you want to have a relationship, stand your ground, create the relationship on your own terms and just go with the flow. Don't wait around. Honestly, I was just like, okay, thank you, Julia, for that bit. But I'm not going to dive so deeply into other aspects of the book because I'll be spoiling the book itself. I'll be giving you a lot of things within the book, and I just want you to go and get the book itself. So what do I think about this book? So if I compare the two books, Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before and Open When, I really love Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before. I don't know why, I'm just a little bit biased, but Open When is just Open When. Okay, it's Open When. Anyways, the structure and the way this book is written is very similar to Tam's book, Buy Yourself the Damn Flowers. Now, Tam's book, Buy Yourself the Damn Flowers, is this book that literally, she gives you everything that she wants to explain in the chapter, and at the end of the chapter, she has a takeaway, summary of everything, takeaways, things that you can take and practical examples and stuff like that. It's the same structure in which this book has been written. It has been written with takeaways. So every chapter she has a letter that she has written from her to you, and then at the end of it there are key takeaways of the things that she has sort of talked about within the chapter. And then when you flip, there is a quote, the outstanding quote that has come from the whole chapter that you can kind of use or remember to help you remember that chapter, which is very good. What do I think this book? Now, this book, my rating for this book is a 5-star. I could give it a 6-star, 7-star, 8-star if I could. It's a very, very good book. It's written really nicely. It's written in a way that they are very relatable examples. It feels like she's talking to you. She is writing to you, not to a whole mass of people, just to you and for you. There are some chapters that you may scroll through because they are not relevant, they are not important to you. I scrolled through the one for parents, like being parents and all that. I just scrolled through. I'll open when I become a parent maybe, but I just kind of skimmed through that chapter. So it's one of those things that you have to pick what you can and what you don't want in the book. I wish this book came in a paper sort of thing. I could only get a paperback. That's paperback of this book. But all in all, definitely a very good book, a very good read. She's one of the people that I really want to meet. They say that never meet your heroes, but I think she is one of the people that one time I just want to meet and have a conversation with and just talk to and just look at her and just, pick her brain, because I feel like the softness that she gives in her books is softness that she might give if I ever meet her. But yeah, one day, hopefully, but let's forget about that. We're here for the book, okay? So I would rate this book, like I said, a 5-star. It's a very good book. At the end of it, she has summaries of the book itself, which sort of highlight a lot of things. If you want to get till the end, there is a chapter that is called When Anger Interrupts Too Often. When you get angry all the time, you're mad, you're bitter, tips and things that you can get to. She has visualization tools for finding confidence in things like that, and in the chapter. So just go to the summary and you can have a bit of that, practical sort of examples and things like that. But it's a very good book. She's a psychologist, I think, and it's great. It's great. Anyways, I'm gonna link the book down below. You can go and check out the book. You can get the book. It will be on my Amazon. And also, if you've got to this part of this video, this is for you. I'm going to be doing a book giveaway for this book. All you have to do is to literally leave a comment, share this video on your Instagram, tag me. That's it. You enter the giveaway. I'll send the book to you, but it's only for anyone living in the UK. I cannot ship outside the UK. I tried it and it didn't work, so we're only keeping it within the UK. But apart from that, thank you so much for watching. My name is 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐀𝐌𝐈𝐄𝐑. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you subscribe. I hope you follow. I hope you do all those kind of things and follow me everywhere else, and we can be friends and we can talk and have a conversation. I am literally tired at this point, and in actual sense, you're not meant to show how tired you are when you're doing things like that. But I'm just like, I need to now go to bed and I need to sleep. But thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I remain Lucy. Bye.